Good morning. Welcome to the next 3if webinar. Wednesday mornings, 9 a.m. We try to see how we can support manufacturing companies and companies in the manufacturing space on transforming digitally. We do this from LSEG as a part of the organization here. We have been working on supporting digital transformation already for quite a number of years. In Flanders, in Belgium, actually supporting over 400 companies taking their first steps into the digital world. And the digital world in this case means that we are looking to what data are available within a company today and to see how we can better optimize the data usage. But even more so is to investigate where data can actually be gathered from. Those could be from either actual consisting digital processes or analog processes that we turn into digital by using different sensor technologies. Today we'll be talking about some of the technologies that are facilitating such a transformation, thanks to our colleagues from Microsoft. But before doing so, let me share a bit on who 3if is. 3if is an organization which came out of LSEG a couple of years ago and has been receiving the support from the Flemish community to do these types of support towards our manufacturers. Because we see that not only in Belgium, but in Europe and the rest of the world, digital transformation is really needed in order to make the next best effort in creating products and product development and in production factories. So within 3if, we see that for instance, in competition with China, with other parts of the world, companies are quickly transforming into digital, especially factories as well. And they need different types of equipment in order to do that. So in Flanders, there's an initiative called Flanders Industry 4.0, in analogy to the earlier German Industry 4.0, which is basically industrial Internet of Things or IoT for manufacturing that is to be put under the same umbrella. In Flanders, there are about 17 field labs that are existing today as well. And 3if is pleased to operate one of those field labs, specifically on condition-based maintenance. We also participate in some European activities, amongst others, Connected Factories, where together with about 20 other organizations across Europe, we investigate what the challenges are of digital transformation for factories under the umbrella of factories of the future. And as you can see, we see those as really as transformation. We call them pathways for personas, and personas in this case would be, for instance, an autonomous smart factory, namely a factory which is smart and which can operate completely autonomously. So it has to have systems and technologies in place to be able to do that. Depending on what the use cases are and what the different specific factory is producing, of course, those will be slightly different. But what it will come down to is that companies that are currently under level 2 or 3 with some basic connectivity, having MES or ERP systems that are watching over the production, connecting those to digital data lakes and capturing additional data from sensors in order to then steer and optimize the production process or to become more efficient and optimize the whole production line. But it could also be used for instance, condition-based maintenance or for research purposes. Over time, we'll see how we can use those sensor data and those, that intelligence to also optimally coordinate and manage what happens within the factory by steering out automation machines, automats or robots for that matter. So that's what we try to do within Connected Factories. And so we have multiple of those personas where we can provide advisory on a free basis from the Connected Factories platform, or put that into place into a local digital innovation hub. Yesterday only, we had an interesting webinar together with China Mobile, where China Mobile really gave the insights in their deployment of 5G. And as you can see here on this slide, and I also showed it yesterday during our industrial cybersecurity webinar, the impact of the expected impact of industrial manufacturing on the world of connectivity. So about $700 billion are expected to be gained in addition from the current 4G operations by just automating and connecting the sensors and capabilities of factories in China, which means that not only in China, but actually in the rest of the Asia Pacific world, factories are very quickly and very smoothly transforming into digital. We know, for instance, in the case of Taiwan, that about 10,000 companies, 10,000 manufacturing companies will be digitally transformed by 2021, which is actually already next year. In the case of a smart factory, the use case for China Mobile is really to connect all sorts of different components, namely sensors, but wearables, warehouses, video surveillance cameras, and so forth, and steering the things like the robots, which need real-time connectivity, and therefore 5G is obviously one of the most obvious results for this. We here in Belgium, through our field lab, we operate with these components. We go into manufacturing companies, we install those together with some partners, as you can see here, and we try to engage them in order to facilitate the collection of data, but also showcasing what that data could actually mean and introduce to them. And that's also what we do within a smaller platform called Factory Sense, which is a derivative of all of this. But today, actually, we'll be talking a little bit more about some larger use cases and business platforms, and that together with our colleagues from Microsoft. And so in this case, I'm very happy that Bart and Timo, who's not here on this banner, have accepted to participate in the webinar and to share with us some of the use cases that Microsoft is having in their digital transformation journey. Microsoft that we see popping up much more often, not only because of Azure and Azure IoT, but also in quite some other industrial aspects, for instance, in digital twins and in many other aspects, for instance, using Microsoft Dynamics for analytics. But let me stop here with sharing and hand over the word in the first place to Bart. Bart, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Very fine. Thank you so much. Having fun, and again excited to go and talk together with you on IoT and all the different components that we can offer and how we see and perceive IoT in the world.
Great, thanks. Last week, you indulged us with IoT and cybersecurity in our industrial cybersecurity topic. So that's where I thought it was going to be very interesting in elaborating a little bit more on the on what Microsoft can actually offer in the IoT Azure world. And you brought your a colleague with you, Timo. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. Just as Bart, very excited to talk about IoT and how IoT can actually enable both factories internally, as you mentioned, with the smart factory concept, but also just field service externally, and enable those technicians to work a little bit better, and also enable those technicians to have this better view on stuff. IoT is quite important for Microsoft actually, and we see quite a lot of customers hopping on this.
Okay, superb. Who wants to start?
I suggest Timo.
Yeah, perfect. So what I will do, I'll share my screen here as well. What I'll do in the first, let's say, between 15 and 30 minutes of this webinar, wanted to showcase you a little bit on, okay, we have that IoT connectivity. Bart already explained that a little bit in terms of the high-level setup that we have. But what happens after we have connected that IoT? What can we do in order to help out our field service technicians with potential resolutions to that problem? I'm gonna quickly share my screen here. Follow. All right, perfect. So what we actually have within Microsoft is something that we call connected field service. So what we do inside of Microsoft is, because Microsoft's quite a huge company, we do both the security and the IoT connectivity, and also grabbing all of that IoT data. But we also have business applications under the banner of Dynamics. And so those business applications, one of them is called field service. And we have these integrations that we have between field service and IoT. So connected field service for us is part a little bit of a larger business applications platform, in which we want to try to bring together the first line workers, let's say, the technicians or the people that might be maintaining your factory, together with all the different other parts of your business and all the different data of your business. And so we have a broad set of solutions there. So one of that solution is field service. When we're thinking about field service and what IoT can do in there, we've done some studies at Microsoft, and what we see is that field service is now usually, and with field service, I mean both field service that could be related to a customer, aka you are a vendor of washing machines, let's say, and you need to go and repair those washing machines at your customers installed in their homes, or field service in the smart factory sense, in the sense of you have a factory that has quite a lot of different machines, and you have your internal technicians that need to solve them. Usually we are now in this reactive model, which means that you wait until the machine breaks down. And so the moment that it's then broken down, it cannot function anymore, and then you send out a technician. And if you are field service in the sense of with a customer, so not internally with a smart factory, then you also have an unhappy, unsatisfied customer as a result. With IoT, we can now switch over to proactive support models, whereby we collect this data over time, and based on that data, we let an AI model run on top of that can proactively say to you, this machine will fail in the next week, in the next 2 weeks, in the next 3 weeks. And then you can already proactively send out a technician for that, which means no downtime. And then when the technician is on site, he or she can actually see, have a better view on what is exactly wrong with this device and what are the real-time insights that we're getting. So these are some of the trends that we see inside of field service, which we now call connected field service if we put that IoT piece in there. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, IoT is very key in here, whereby we start to collect all of that data and start to showcase that to our technicians or to the person that are dispatching. And so inside of Microsoft, we have this quite huge IoT stack that Bart already explained a little bit last time, and we integrate that IoT stack directly inside of Dynamics as well. And we actually do that in 2 ways. We do that in a way whereby no code is involved at all, whereby we actually use something that's called Power Automate. So we have this new platform at Microsoft called Power Platform. And inside of that platform, you can set up your own automations using a quite nice graphical drag and drop interface. And we actually already have solutions built, templates built, so that you, without writing a single line of code, can directly connect an IoT device directly to Dynamics or any other app using a simple automation. So to quickly showcase you actually that. So we have something that is called IoT Central. And so inside of IoT Central, let me quickly drag my screen up here. Perfect. So inside of Azure, we have 2 main products, let's say, for IoT. One is called IoT Central. The other one is called IoT Hub. IoT Central is really this SaaS application that makes it quite easy to onboard new IoT devices in a secure manner. For example, Starbucks is using this IoT Central, and they have connected all of their coffee machines across all of their different stores in the US to this, so that the barista, let's say, he or she can actually easily onboard a new IoT device. Let's say a coffee machine breaks, needs to be replaced. And secondly, they also have quite easy dashboards in here in order to check up on the health of that device. So Azure IoT Central really makes it easy to onboard these devices as well. So what I've done is I've added in an IoT device in IoT Central, which is one of our MX chips. So this is a device that's available for you, I think, for 20 or 25 euros, whereby you can start playing around a little bit with IoT. And so I get a bunch of different data in there. But with IoT Central, we can now easily set up rules. Like, for example, if the temperature goes above 40 degrees, or if humidity goes above a certain target. And then we can let that rule be trigger something. What can it exactly trigger? Well, if I go here into rules, I can set up a new rule for my device. So let's, for example, do it based on telemetry. Temperature too high. Gonna quickly add in a condition in here. And so this used to be all quite a lot of different code, or you had to set up something in stream analytics. But now we made that interface a little bit easier, let's say. So gonna quickly say that out. So I said here, if temperature is greater than 50. And now I can assign an action to this. And I can send an email to myself. If I am somebody who develops code, that's perfect. We can do webhooks, Azure Functions, that's all fine. But we can even do things like Azure Logic Apps or Power Automate. So it makes it quite easy actually to now start connecting this up to a bunch of other different systems. So if I, for example, click here on Power Automate, we actually already have built-in templates so that I can easily connect this up to, for example, Dynamics 365. So create Dynamics 365 from IoT Central, or maybe post a message on Teams. I might have a field service team or a technician team, or maybe a team together with my customer, and actually post a message to that anytime a certain target has been reached, or even send a text message or stuff like that. So I could say, for example, create a Dynamics alert from IoT Central, and that's just gonna sign me into all my different services, click on continue, and that automation is immediately set up. So it makes it actually quite easy to create these little automation steps in there. But now I could connect up to any other system that I want to. Excel, SharePoint, other business applications as well, like Salesforce. Makes it quite easy. So, all right, that's fine. We can connect it up nicely, but how does it then look for the specific person? What happens now when an IoT alert comes in? So I'm here inside of Dynamics. I'm here inside of Connected Field Service in Dynamics, and you see all of my different alerts coming in. And so I'm gonna select one alert here. And so IoT Central or IoT Hub will send over all of that different data of that alert. And then I can actually start having a business process on top of this, because now we're inside of a standard business application, like you would have your standard CRM on ERP. And so at the top, I have this nice little process flow, let's say, that guides me through, okay, what is everything that I need to do? I need to create a case from this, create a work order from this, etc. But what we also try to do is we try to infuse this with some IoT data in here as well. So I get some general information about my device, but here on the right-hand side, I actually see average temperature or average humidity of the last 7 days, or what are the new IoT alerts created on this. So I get immediate readings of my device as well. Can actually take that a little bit further. I'll probably showcase this through the slides, but we can have real-time device readings coming in here as well. So this is actually powered by Azure Time Series. So we can have real-time device readings coming in here as well, directly inside of my business applications. Or what we're even looking at for the future, this is something that is in beta right now. We could have all of your IoT data connected up to something that we call product insights, where we have standard AI models that process that IoT data and automatically generate dashboards out of it. So for the people who run and who know Power BI, this is actually taking that Power BI engine, but automating everything on top of it. So creating those charts automatically for you. And we can put those charts actually automatically inside of Dynamics as well. So for me as a business person, okay, nice, I get this IoT alert, but I get a general summary of this IoT device. I can get real-time device readings. I can get insights, readings derived over time. So I have all of the different information that I need in order to make a decision on, okay, what is the next step I should do here? And so the next step could be, yes, we need to create a case out of this, or we need to send a technician out of this and all of that stuff. Or we could automatically send a command to this IoT device to restart it, for example. So we have this integration with IoT Hub as well, whereby we can immediately send over these commands or even register new devices directly inside of Dynamics 365. So it actually makes it quite easy for me to now see, okay, what are the different things that I have to do in there. And so product insights might seem actually a little bit interesting. I can deep dive a little bit more into this. This is, by the way, something that you can test out yourself as well for the people who would be interested. bi.dynamics.com allows you to just set up a simple trial and connect all of your IoT devices up there. We support IoT Hub or just running through the SDK. But I, for example, have here a sample whereby we are getting quite a lot of different information about vehicles. So for example, I get all kinds of different signals coming in from vehicles that are being started together with, what is the city, which city type, what is the current day, the current time, etc. So I get all of these signals coming in, and then I can just go up here into Smart Gallery. And so Smart Gallery will look through all of these signals and automatically suggest all of these different charts for me. And so this is not created manually, this is just all created through artificial intelligence. And then lastly, okay, that's nice. As a dispatcher, I have quite a lot of information about all the different IoT devices and what should be my next action. Should I send a technician to this, or should I just send a restart command? But for a technician, they actually also need that information on site. And so we actually have a quite simple platform, let's say, to start developing your own little mobile applications as well, which is called Power Apps. And I have here developed a very simple mobile application whereby a technician can see all the different work orders or all the different things that he has been assigned to. Can open that up here. He gets a nice map in here, can type in a description, get the client signature, but he can also get all of the real-time IoT device information as well. So this actually just loads in Power BI, and I can see the exact measurements coming in from the IoT device directly on my mobile device as well. And so if you say, hey, but Timo, I need to change this. This might not be the best layout for my specific purposes. Well, this is in a platform called Power Apps, which you can actually develop these applications just as you would be editing a PowerPoint. So this is actually quite easy to start developing and really developing an experience that's exactly needed for the technician. And you know what? This application can actually also be connected to all of your different IoT devices, to Azure IoT Central, to IoT Hub. So you can grab all of that IoT data in there as well if you need to have that in a mobile sense. So what we are trying to do, we're gonna quickly also showcase the architecture slide on this, because you might say, this all seems quite difficult to set up. For IoT Central, it was quite easy, but no, I'm using something like IoT Hub, Timo. I have millions of devices that are coming in. We need to register these devices, all these kinds of IoT alerts. I'm not gonna set up an automation, click, click, click by that, and we fully get you on that. And so that is why inside of Microsoft, this is a little bit the architecture slide on this, like what are all the different things that we deploy. But actually, all of this we deploy for you. So we have actually a simple wizard that you go through. You just give it the connection strings for all of these different services, and we will set up the logic apps for you. We will set up the service bus for you, the stream analytics, etc. So as an implementator, let's say, you don't really have to worry about this part. But you still do have full control over this part. These are resources deployed in your Azure subscription. You can still manage them in whatever way that you want. But it's all configured already out of the box in order to get started with that. So we try to enable this innovation quite quickly as well, which you could then get things like this. So this is the real-time device readings that you actually get inside of Dynamics as well. So that's a little bit what we're trying to do actually with Dynamics for Field Service. So yes, the IoT part extremely important and trying to connect that up. But what we really try to do is we try to empower both the dispatchers and the technicians with all of that IoT data, trying to give them insights, trying to give them reasoning on what would be the next step that you should do. Of course, on top of whatever standard features that we already have inside of Field Service, didn't focus that much on it today, but things like intelligently planning. So if you really need to schedule out like 100 technicians, we have AI models that can schedule that out as well. But wanted to focus today a little bit on the IoT part as well for this. Well, so that's what we're doing from a standard SaaS solution, let's say. But I'll give the word to Bart now, because Bart has an example of something more custom that we did for a customer.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you so much, Timo.
No problem.
By the way, Ulrich, did you capture any questions for Timo in the meantime?
Finding the right unmute button. It's always difficult if you are being the one being asked the question next. Not yet. We've raised the question to the audience if they would have some questions and issues that they can quickly put them on. I wanted to do that after your presentation, but I do have a couple of questions myself, though. You showed quite a number of different instruments there, Timo, and thanks for that. Great presentation, superb explanation and insight. Now, what I have difficulties with is understanding the real different components, what one does versus the other. So I'm getting a little bit of the different perspectives on how they fit together. I mean, everything is nicely integrated together tightly as well, and the interfaces are really very practical to use, it seems to me, also from our own experiences. But I'm questioning a little bit the different components. Where does one need to connect to the other one? And especially also with the last slide that you showed, where you indicated there's a couple of those components which are being set up by you. That's then Microsoft in this case. So basically there's a device that is being installed, and it automatically assigns itself to all of these services. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so wait, let me quickly reshare my screen here so they can get that slide up again. So what we try to do inside of Dynamics, so how will I explain this in the best way? We used to have Azure, and we still have Azure. And with Azure, you can literally do anything. You can set up any kind of architecture or infrastructure that you want. What we try to do is we looked at a lot of our different customers that have set up these connected field service things before. And we derived from that let's say a reference architecture. An architecture of which we say, this is something that works. This is something that we have already deployed at our different customers. And it is something that we can easily replicate in your Azure environment. So you get the benefits of, this is something that is tested, and this is a SaaS application, let's say. But you also still get the benefits of Azure in the sense of, we still deploy it in your environment. And if you need to do something custom and build on top of that, that's perfectly possible. To quickly go over these components here, and I'll quickly just go through them one by one, just a quick overview so that you just know, all right, these are the kinds of things that you can expect in there. So we start with your devices. So you have certain devices that are either certified for IoT Hub or that you connect up with IoT Hub yourself through the SDK. And so what we set up, so the moment that IoT Hub receives this message, it will put it on Stream Analytics. And so Stream Analytics will do a couple of things in there. First off, what we do is we just send all of these Stream Analytics messages directly to an Azure SQL, on which you can then build Power BI dashboards, and you can build your own analytics stuff, let's say, if you want to do that. So we just do that for archival purposes, let's say. However, inside of Stream Analytics, you can also set up certain alerts, so certain thresholds. So as I demonstrated in IoT Central, you can set up, hey, if the temperature is above 50 degrees. Now, where do we exactly store those thresholds for IoT? We store that actually in Azure Table Storage. So we have a second storage unit, let's say, that stores these different rules, like temperature above 50 equals alert, and temperature above 30 equals another alert. The moment that Stream Analytics sees that alert, so it looks in table storage, oh yes, temperature is actually above 50. Then it will put it on a service bus. So it will just spread that message out on a service bus. And we actually have something that is called a logic app, which will actually take that message. So that logic app gets triggered whenever something is on that service bus, whenever that message is on the service bus. And that logic app is already pre-configured with your Dynamics environment. So it will take that message and generate that IoT alert, aka create a record in the Dynamics database. Yes, okay, boom. Here now is your IoT alert. And then we continue on from the screens that I've demonstrated there. Lastly, in terms of commands, so this is all okay. We retrieve information from IoT Hub into field service. But lastly, I quickly mentioned, hey, you can also send commands to IoT Hub, so you can do it the other way around. And so, yeah, that's possible as well. So what happens is inside of Dynamics, we've put in some custom code that puts a message on a service bus, which triggers a logic app, which goes back to IoT Hub. If I click on the send command button in Dynamics, that's actually what happens. We put that message there and we send that over. Okay. So that's actually how it functions. Can you set this up differently? Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. But what we've seen with this architecture is that this architecture has been deployed at customers before, and we really know that that works.
Yeah, yeah, okay. It's basically using the platform as a service of Azure and including there a number of SaaS applications and tools that are vastly integrated. Okay. Yeah. I think one very important component that you mentioned is the use of the devices. So the devices have to be IoT Azure certified in order to be able to connect directly into the IoT Hub. Is that correct?
So two things in there. So for IoT, we now have Azure IoT certified devices, and so yes, those can directly connect up to IoT Hub. But I will have to check that up, and I can send over that information later. I don't think that's an assumption that I'm taking right now. I don't think your device has to be certified in order to connect up to IoT Hub. So with IoT Hub, we have an SDK. You can develop your own connection in Python or Node.js, for example, and connect that up to IoT Hub as well. So IoT Hub and IoT Central as well, we provide these connectivity options if you have your own custom device, let's say, also for developers, for example. Yeah. However, something quite interesting to note as well, we are actually taking this certification a little bit further, and we recently announced something that's called IoT Plug and Play. So for those people who still know, like in the Windows 95 and 98 days, this was very much a big buzzword, plug and play. Oh, you could put your mouse and you didn't have to install your driver anymore. We are actually taking that same foundation and we're applying it to IoT. And we have a bunch of IoT plug and play certified devices for which, once again, no code is needed. It's the same as putting your mouse in your PC. You insert the device will give you some information. You take that information, you place it inside of IoT Central, and the device will already come with all of the manifest, let's say, or all of the information on, yes, this is everything that I can report. I can report temperature, humidity, etc. And that's all immediately set up. So trying to really make it as easy as plugging a mouse into your computer.
Okay, so, and hope that it's not plug and pray in this case. Which is a derivative of plug and play, of course, in this case. Okay. No, that makes sense, and I think in the as you're saying, the device listing of assets. So it's sort of a reference manifest of what the device is capable of doing. Does that also include components in relation to security? So what are the challenges in relation to security of such an asset? Because it's really a reference manifest of an asset, I guess that's what it should look like.
Yes, indeed. Let me actually just quickly immediately open it up here. So I'm gonna quickly go here into a demo application. Yes, still sharing my screen. So inside of IoT Central, you can actually get started with creating these own templates yourself. So when I'm inside of IoT Central, or also would work in IoT Hub. So inside of IoT Central, I can click on device templates and I can start creating a new template. And we have some standard templates as well. So if I, for example, take here the standard template for Azure Sphere, I start creating that out. I think right now in terms of security purposes, so currently, what we support in these templates are purely the capabilities of the device. So in terms of the security of the device, that would still be something that would have to be set up yourself. As in the same way that Bart explained, these interfaces right now are mostly for capabilities.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean that makes perfect sense, of course, from this environment. I guess the security is in this case one of my secondary things to consider. So that's the reason why I'm asking. Okay,
yeah,
thanks for that.
Absolutely.
No further questions for the time being.
All right.
Back to you then, Bart.
Yes, so thank you. Timo, awesome, thank you so much. Let me share my screen. So a little bit like what Timo did, let me first show you actually, by the way, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Awesome. So let me first of all, before we go into that demo, let me really briefly again touch base on the IoT reference architecture. As we can see, then has also been explained thoroughly by Timo, right? We got our devices, our edge devices, the default IoT devices. They're all via IoT DPS. They're built provisioned. They connect to the IoT hub, and then we start correlating and working with that data. All the data that these devices are sending are then pushed through a function app, or they're pushed into the stream processing, and we can apply the machine learning capabilities on this. Now, what we have done, for example, for Johnson Controls, is we actually customize a little bit, and we've built out a complete management environment for the people of Johnson Controls to work with. Now, for example, what we can see in here is indeed our Johnson Control management dashboard. Let me really briefly log in.
Maybe good to remind people what Johnson Controls are doing, Bart.
So Johnson Controls is actually the leading player in cooler, in the chiller environments globally. Really briefly on this one. So this is a dashboard that, for example, an administrator working within the chiller environment, within the operational side of things, can see, can view. That is something that we've built out. So why is this so important? For example, within this environment, an AVAC environment, when we look at it from the energy consumption space, it takes up between 50 and 60% in total. It requires a lot of energy. So why we have built this, for example, is we need a lot of predictive maintenance and rapid operations if something could go wrong, because it will cost a lot of money and a lot of investments. So for example, what we can see here in this environment is that we see a lot of different environments, different buildings that have indeed that health state together with the entire management. I can scale it down a bit, I can scale it up a little bit, so we can view everything that we want for the entire estate. Now, for example, while we are seeing the overall KPI metrics that are of course being built automatically together with the energy metrics, is that we can see the entire space, but more importantly, in this case, we can see the incident management things. We can see, for example, in Seattle, there is a surge warning. There is something that is not completely up to space. So if I click on this, we can immediately view all the details of the entire building together with the chillers, together with the sensors, together with the IoT devices. So this is actually where the funny thing comes up, because right now, as Timo mentioned and showed you in real great detail, we can use this one to build operational dashboards, not only to view stuff, but also, as Timo mentioned, we can also manage the environment with this dashboard. So we can, for example, see all our devices. They are reporting the entire environment. We can view, if we want, the other outlay to see if there should be a sun in the morning, for example. Yeah, this environment, this section will get a lot more heat. We can also see the entire layout of that building. And in the below part of things, we can see the entire AVAC system, the 3 units, together if we want, again, with the entire temperature overlay. Now, looking at the incident management, we can see indeed that AVAC unit, the HVAC unit, with an extended maintenance, which is critical. Now, if we want to go in deep dive on this, you can just click, and then we can see the entire overlay of that centrifugal chiller. Together with the current runtime, we can, if we want, turn it off. If we need to do the real maintenance, the physical maintenance, together with the entire device service history. Then again, gets its data from, in this case, the dynamics part. Everything is pushed in there, the stream analytics, the Azure function capabilities, together with the predictive maintenance with machine learning that we have built, shows us this in a really easy overlay. And then indeed we can see, for example, the critical alerts together with the prediction capability. So we can see that this environment actually, this chiller has 31 days until the next service. But actually, we don't think it will last that long. So let's just, for example, go ahead, click on the environment, and then we can see the details. So we can see the predicted incident trend of this environment. And we can see, for example, this prediction. We can see in here the critical alerts. And when we move forward in time, is that prediction capabilities mention us that we better take action right now. So again, as mentioned, not just a viewing dashboard, it's an operational dashboard. So we can create that maintenance tickets. We can update the Dynamics 365 records. We can, of course, notify the building manager. And we can change also the status to resolving, because we have an engineer that will be going on place. We can click, we can easily submit. Right now in the backend in Dynamics, the ticket is being created, the building manager is updated, and we can move forward into viewing the next environments. And then if we want, we can view into this chilling alert of New Orleans, and then we can just do the same thing. That's pretty much why we're working with this environment, but this shows us the power of what we can do to not make it complex, but to make the neat dashboards, the operational dashboards, to take the necessary steps. That's pretty much what we can do within environments like, for example, Johnson Controls. And to give you a brief highlight of what we can do, right? So this allows us, using IoT with the entire setup, connecting to the solutions for example, Johnson Controls, as a highlight. Does this provide you with some visibility on this?
Absolutely, great. Yeah, that's definitely also the type of system that we would expect from the side, from the perspective of an open maintenance engineer. I have my colleague here, Daniel, who is working within a 3if and doing site installations. And I think, Daniel, should you have had these types of systems in your maintenance engineering moments, I guess it would have been very useful, wouldn't it?
Yes, indeed. In the same time, I prepared some questions, and both of you was already response of a part of them. But still, I think that it's important to understand. By using the platform, I take some notes here, starting from Azure IoT Central to Power Apps and go to Intelligence Planning. Finally, this use case you presented, Bart, is very relevant. It's clear to understand. My question was how we can integrate the third-party IoT devices and how we can collect data from existing field service. The question arises as during our field lab, we started to promote, let's say, and to present during demo sessions some IoT devices. And we presented the devices we receive from our partners. I can name here VersaSense and CloudGate, and there are already other players in the market, but each one of them have their own platform and their own system to show the data, to present the data. And we was a little bit blocked there because it was not easy to put data together. So let's say if I need to take data from VersaSense and show in the same use case together with the data from a CloudGate device or even from a Modbus device, was not easy at all. So yes, we can try different solutions are already existing, and even the producers are presenting, are proposing. But the question was how we can integrate different other IoT devices, and you said that are existing already this line of already certified devices, but I think that also another ones can be integrated. The other question was how we can integrate data from existing automation devices using industrial specific field information like Modbus or Fieldbus or Profibus or Profinet. how we can collect data from this kind of automation devices.
Yeah,
Now,
how does it integrate with, for instance, OPC, OPCU, and those types of things? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Timo, do you want to take this one, or do I take this one?
So what I can already say on this is that, yeah, there are quite a lot of different IoT devices out there. Usually it's one of these two things. Usually what happens is that you have quite a lot of different these IoT devices already deployed in your factory, but these IoT devices send over data to a central hub. And that is then usually what we focus on. That central hub, either the platform that is using that already exposes that data in some sense, either to a REST API or they have their own SDK in order to send out data as well. And then we can, the moment that that data is imported to, for example, a SQL server, or maybe we import it directly into time series or stream analytics, that data will then be joined together with the other IoT data that might be pushing directly into stream analytics. So that is one way to do it. So looking at what is the existing platform right now and see how we can get that data out of there. Or if it's really, okay, no, I need to work on the device itself, then we usually look into the Azure IoT SDKs that we have. So then you have to look at, okay, what are the types of programming languages that this device supports? If you can immediately deploy something to this device, usually what happens is that the device has some endpoints that we have to use, and then we come into the same rhythm as the other as the hub devices. And we have SDKs for C, for Java, for .NET, for Node.js, for Python. So there are quite a lot of different SDKs available, which our partners, of course, already also know how to use and how to integrate with these other platforms as well.
The goal for this solution and this integration solution you proposed is to be able to build a dashboard, putting together that data from the IoT device itself, but also taking the data from the environment. Let's say the upstream machines providing in an industrial process line to have an insight on the data from only one use case or application. We had a use case where we monitored a filter press working in vacuum, where the efficiency of the filter itself was starting in fact from the vacuum pump. So only monitoring the filter was inefficient because we never seen where the problem can be produced and why sometime events are happen without any logical explanation. And in this demonstrator, we used effectively to monitor the vacuum pump, and we found in fact some relations where it was not easy to see before. But the question, okay, remain. We would like to test effectively to flow data in one demo environment in Azure IoT environment to see how we can build dashboards as you, Bart, presented the one from Johnson Controls. That one, it was made for the customer, I think, and it's tailor-made.
So there are different parts in this. So you have the connectivity of the device, yeah, okay, and that is with IoT Hub, the SDKs, etc. If you're then talking about, okay, the moment that you have that data, how can we let it flow through the Azure environment to get insights out of it? Yeah, then there are different solutions. If you say, we, for example, have, let me quickly share my screen here. We have several services in order to get context out of that data and to get insights out of that data. From the very simple ones, we have things like cognitive services. So these are pre-built AI models. And one of the newest cognitive services that we announced is something that we call anomaly detector. So let me quickly share my screen here. Hey, hop. So one of the newest cognitive services that we announced is called anomaly detectors, currently in preview. What anomaly detector does is you give it a time series of data, and it will automatically detect anomalies in that time series. And you can send data to that in multiple times. So you can send out an entire time series, or you can push that data concurrently.
So
how does that exact
it's multivariable? It's multivariable.
Don't know exactly about whether it's multivariable or not. I can send some additional information on that.
Yeah, sure.
So that's the easy solution, because it's just a standard AI model. You send some data to it, you get a response back, and that's it. If you want to go more deeply into it, so generate more insights or even generate your own AI, ML models on that, then we have something that's called Azure Databricks or Azure Machine Learning Studio, or now Azure Synapse. So those are three different solutions. The one combines the other, whereby you can send in a bunch of different data and start creating your own ML models on that using Python, using R workbooks. That's all possible. Azure Synapse Analytics actually combines both an ETL tool, so extract transformation loading tool for your data, and the fact that you can set up data flows whereby you can do custom ML modeling, etc. And then, of course, in order to visualize that data then, and to visualize it out, we have things like Power BI, or you can push all of that data to a SQL data warehouse. Once it's processed, once it's nicely cleaned up, send that to a SQL data warehouse, and then build your own Power BI dashboards on top of that. Now assume that you don't want to do anything of that. Then we have product insights that I quickly demonstrated before. What we do with product insights is we take all of that stuff and we combine it all in one SaaS solution, and you don't have to set up anything. Set up anything in the sense of you quickly go to settings, you say, this is my IoT hub, and then we generate all the dashboards for you, and we even do a little bit of insights on this as well. And so we try to, what we try to do here is, will this replace anything in Azure? No, but it gets you started very quickly. And so you can start from this and then build out further if you need to.
Looks like a great tool to experiment with in any case, Daniel, specifically also in the field lab environments. All right, thanks.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, so I guess there's many different components here that we have basically just scratched the surface likely on what the capabilities are and how it really works. I think one of the questions that I still have is, of course, we are working with industrial companies. The data that we gather is always very sensitive to basically the environment where it's hosted, in the sense that it's very customer specific. It's really also depending on the specific use case, what it really means. And so in many of the cases that we encounter, you really need a lot of business intelligence, operational intelligence to understand what data is relevant and where the spikes mean and make a difference from the ones that the machines are detecting. In your experiences now, is there some reference architectures that can be used from specific vertical industries? Like here you're showing specifically engine oils on energy levels, on other, either on a component level or on an industrial level. Are there also some comparables that can be drawn from let's say the SaaS interface and environment?
So in terms of, I'll have to check if we have some Azure reference architectures in order to set up the capturing of the device. This specifically, we don't yet have specific industry templates, let's say, for these insights, although it's quite a good additional feature. This is still in preview. So we don't yet have these specific templates on that. Mm-hmm. I'm quickly also going to look here at Bart, because we do, there are two different things in here. We have the reference architecture for actually the setup, and there, yes, we have Azure references architectures available. We also have, if you say, we need some industry templates for getting these insights and these dashboards, inside of Power BI, we have quite a lot of different partners and templates available in order to capture your device, in order to capture that data and to get some insights on that. Gonna quickly do a bing search on here, but we have the Power BI template gallery, which is a gallery of different partners and different dashboards that we have across any kind of industry, and you can also filter this out on a specific industry. So if you need specific partners or specific templates, let's say for your specific industry to visualize data, that's all available in that gallery over there. And then
Okay,
for the Azure
got it.
reference architectures, it's a different site. I'll put that in the chat, the link.
Super. Okay. I don't have any further questions for the time being. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing that with us, and also in such an early morning. It's great seeing all of these developments, and definitely let's stay connected to see how other developments and new components that you're adding to this whole platform could also help our industry here, and where we might be able to also to get some references to some of our existing customer environments to help them understand what it is that they can achieve with all of this, because that's really, I think, one of the very nice things that you that we get from this is an insight on how others are utilizing this platform and how easy it can actually be integrated, and that it can also provide really interesting insights and improve the efficiency, as Bart was showing earlier on, in managing a workspace or a work environment. Okay, so while nearing to the end of this 1 hour session, let me quickly take over the controls again and show a bit of ideas on how we're going to continue with a number of these things. So next week, for instance, we'll have Paul van Kempen as a next guest speaker on the smart maintenance activities in the Netherlands. Smart Maintenance Netherlands is somewhat similar to some of the field labs that we are having here in Flanders, in Belgium. And here specifically, Smart Maintenance has been working very closely with the chemical industry in the Rhine environment. So Maastricht area and a little bit up north in the Netherlands. And where many of those petrochemical companies have been challenged with quite some similar types of activities in terms of maintenance and managing maintenance. So some of the experience that we'll be getting there are also very much related to cyber physical, so connectivity with backend systems, but also how they smartly considered using robots for those maintenance types of capabilities. The week afterwards, we'll be having a new visit from one of our partners from Vereertbruggen, who also presented last year at the 3if convention, which unfortunately won't be happening anywhere near soon with the current situation ongoing. But here's time we'll be able to present us with an update on industrial IoT identity management. And I think also from the presentation from Timo and Bart here, it's pretty obvious that if you have many of those devices deployed out there, that it does make sense to have a series system behind it that manages the devices, that manages the identity of the devices, where they're connected to, and to which platform they need to be managed. And so with this, I also would like to raise your attention to another identity access management topic that we'll be talking about tomorrow morning. And for those of you more interested in what we do on data protection, tomorrow at noon, we'll be having a GDPR session with also some best practices from the Netherlands in terms of 600 government organizations and quite a number of private institutes that are trying to cope with GDPR and the way it further evolves towards e-privacy and so forth. And then next week, we'll be talking again about cybersecurity topics. On Tuesday mornings, we have one of the best hackers in the world, Inti de Curricular, who's working with integrity right now and showcasing some of the weakest links. And I think one of those weakest links, actually, Timo and Bart, are the self announcement of some of the devices. So I don't think he'll talk about this this session. At least it could be something to watch closely about. And then on the noon sessions of that week, we'll be having another interesting talk from Landsweeper in this case. We'll be indicating how assets on a network, on an industrial network, can be seen and can also be monitored and be managed. So those are a couple of things coming up. So with this, I'd like to say thank you to my colleague speakers here today. Bart, thanks a lot for taking the time and effort again to join in here. Timo, also to you. It looks like you're somewhere in Thailand, but apparently I noticed that there's an interesting logo on the right top corner, which is called Airbnb. So something says to me that that's not really a sign that hangs there on the rooftop. That's
yeah, but that is. You think it's there, but it's actually not. So I'm really
no. It's a virtual environment. And thanks also to you, Daniel, for assisting in the discussion. Okay, guys. With this, I wish you a very nice continuation of the day, and looking forward to seeing you again very soon here in one of these sessions or one of the next ones. Bye.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Bye.